Mac Jones was not on today's injury report, and he should be starting on Sunday. Mike Giardi, NFL Network, reported this today. However, Mac Jones is dealing with numbness in the toes on his left foot as he continues to recover from the left ankle injury that sidelined him for 3 weeks. It didn't impact Mac's on-field prep for the Jets, but keep an eye on it. As for what this week has been like, his teammate Jacoby Myers says the quarterback is dialed in more than ever.
I mean, he's normally pretty locked in, but this week he definitely kicked it up a little bit. And, I mean, I'm excited to see him go out there and just show everybody what he can do.
Do you worry about his confidence at all based on how Monday night went and the crowd treatment, all the stuff that went into Monday night, basically?
No, not at all. I feel like he's one of those guys who kind of been in high environment situations, you know, put with games on the line and high stressful situations that he'll bounce back. He'll be all right.
All right, that brings us to our deep dive tonight on a Friday night, Arbella Early Edition with Trenni. There is Trenni joining us remotely. Marc the Beetle Bertrand from 98.5 The Sports Hub. Phil Perry here as well. Trenni, let's start with you. What do you make of Mac Jones's status in the most recent reporting on his quote-unquote injury? He has been removed from the injury report. We should point that out, but it sounds like he's still not all the way there yet.
Yeah, the one thing that stuck out to me, Phil, was the fact that the Bears said they saw him favoring that ankle. And Burt Greer pointed that out on the show yesterday. My biggest concern is his confidence. And I know Jacoby Myers is like, no, he's going to be fine. He's fine. But then you got Bill Belichick this week who won't even say the word starter when talking about him. And then you look at how he played on Monday night, quickly pulled and got the hook for Bailey Zappi. I just feel like he knows he has to earn his job back. And that may propel him to playing the best game we've seen from him all year. But it could also put him in a situation where he feels like he has to do everything to show Bill Belichick, like, yeah, I am your guy. And that could be disastrous.
I think he's taking a massive risk here, Beetle, with how he's handled the quarterback position, to Trenni's point there. Because this could go one of two ways by not committing to Mac Jones fully. Option A, door number one, is you get Alabama Mac Jones, right? Who every time he was backed into a corner, he fought his way out, he fought for his role, and he became a better player for it. Eventually, the guy is a Heisman candidate, leads you to a national championship. Door number two is it doesn't go all that well for Mac's psyche in terms of not getting the commitment that he feels he needs from the team, from his head coach, and then you start to see him press. Or you start to see him be a little bit over-aggressive and trying to make plays to make sure that he is winning his job, or maybe being a little too tentative because he knows his coach doesn't want him to throw interceptions. And either way, your team is worse off for it. And if the quarterback play continues to trend in that direction, well, now, long term, let's not get ahead of ourselves, but long term, you're maybe talking about ruining a first-round pick and starting from scratch at the most important position on the roster. So I think this is a really risky decision on Bill Belichick's behalf, because I'm not sure you can be really confident in terms of how he's going to respond to this.
I would agree with you, and I also think that he could be maybe treating a problem that is about the offense as a problem that is about motivation. Is Mac Jones not motivated to play well? Is that why he needs to be pushed? It's always good when you have an opportunity to get the very best out of a player by pushing them with another player. This feels to me like it's going down a different road, and this feels like it's now been a season of friction and tension, and ultimately an unproductive season, maybe as a result of all the things that have changed and all the things that have gone on. And now we're hearing about Mac Jones's toes, his numb toes, which sound to me like a built-in excuse for however he plays on Sunday. If he doesn't play well on Sunday against the Jets, he has numb toes. He's not on the injury report, as you stated right off the top. He's not on that anymore. But now he has numb toes. And these sort of little things that keep getting reported on, I just can't imagine that they're playing well within Bill Belichick's office. I can't imagine that he sees that tonight, sees Mike Giardi on Twitter and thinks, oh, this is really good that everyone now knows that Mac has numb toes going into the Jets game.
Trenni, Beetle sees that as a built-in excuse for any potential poor play we may see. How do you think Mac Jones will perform on Sunday, given everything that's happened over the last week?
So we'll talk about this later in the pickoff, but I did pick the Patriots to win, but it was not easy for me to do that because I don't know what we're going to get from Mac Jones. Like, what I worry about, Phil, is Mac Jones, it seems, maybe pushed a player. They wanted to give him an opportunity to play on Monday night. And the offense just did not click, like it has not clicked at all for him. And I felt like that interception he threw was, listen, I know he's thrown some bad interceptions this season, but that one was uncharacteristic. Like, he was just like, watch this. He just chucks it up. He rolls out and throws it up into the middle of nowhere, like up for grabs. That is not a Mac Jones play. His whole thing is supposed to be his mind and reading the defense. And it's like, okay, so if you got this pressure on you and now this is leaking out about your toes and stuff, like, are you going out there and you're just trying to chuck it up and show, like, Daddy Bill, look what I can do. I can throw, I can make plays. I can be just like Bailey Zappi. Like, for me, I just don't understand why from the jump they have not shown more confidence in Mac Jones and tailored the offense. I know we've talked about this all week, like tailored the offense more to him and to his strengths and to the other 10 guys on the field at the same time. Because it's not just Mac Jones, right? Like, players aren't getting open for Mac Jones in the same way they are for Bailey Zappi, and that's not because of Mac Jones.
Trenni, I think they probably did in their minds believe that the way they tailored the offense, the way they made these changes, the philosophical changes, the schematic changes, they felt as though he could handle them. But it doesn't feel as though maybe Beetle, he was the driving force behind these changes. When you bring in new coaches, they want to put in what they think is best for the team. Is that necessarily what you think has been best for Mac Jones in 2022?
Well, no, I don't think at all that it's been best for Mac Jones, and I think everybody now sees that, and it's obvious. And to go back to where we were at the start of the year and why they were making these changes over the spring and summer and how we knew they weren't really working out well in the early going in training camp, we were talking at the time, Phil, you and I, about was this about Mac Jones? Was this about opening things up for him to give him the best chance to win? Or was it about the coaches? And I think the fact that Mac Jones, now going into week 8, has been put on notice by Bill Belichick based on what he told you the other day in his press conference, I think it's proof that this was about the coaches more than Mac Jones. If all of the motivations going into this year were about putting Mac Jones in the best possible position, they would have found a way to put him in a better position than what they have to this point, and they'd be in a better place. But they're not. And obviously the injury is a part of this, so we can't forget the fact that he's missed time with his injury. But if you're already putting the guy on notice, coming back off an injury, benching him after a quarter, then what were all these offensive changes about? They certainly don't appear to have been about helping Mac Jones, because they need to give Mac Jones more help right now, and they're not doing it.
It's an awfully quick hook. Isn't it? When you look at his arc, big picture, he comes in, brings them to the playoffs, has a pretty good year for a rookie. They come back, okay, new coaches, new scheme, new language for the offensive line. He gets hurt twice in the 3 games that he's played. He misses time, and now there's the threat of him maybe losing his job. It feels like an awfully quick hook for a young quarterback. Let's talk about Sunday's game, though. Kendrick Bourne. He's going to be back. Present at practice today, removed from the injury report, like his buddy Mac Jones. So too was Big Mike Onwenu. David Andrews and Christian Barmore, meanwhile, have been ruled out for the game. 7 players were listed as questionable, including Kyle Duggar. He's missed practice this week. So when it comes to this game in particular, Trenni, you feel like this could be a referendum on both Bill Belichick and Mac Jones. You feel as though this is not just about the quarterback here this Sunday.
Well, how is it not, right? Like, all we've talked about for how many weeks now? I mean, it really, if we're thinking about it, it's really been the last 2.5 weeks where we've talked about the way that Bill Belichick has been handling the quarterback situation. So now he's decided that he's going to go with Mac Jones for now, which, Phil, you pressed him on brilliantly the other day. And so if he goes with Mac Jones, but he won't name Mac Jones the starter past this day, this weekend, all we can keep like thinking about is, are you messing with a kid who's only in his second year? We've talked all week about needing patience. So if Mac Jones doesn't play well, then I think that's automatically tied back to Bill Belichick, because to me, then you haven't really put him in the best position to succeed. You've put so much pressure on a kid who's trying to learn a new offense, dealing with a new offensive coordinator. We can't even really call it that. So you're in this weird position. And so that's on Bill Belichick, because he made those decisions. Now, on the flip side, though, if this is some sort of like mind game that the genius Bill Belichick has come up with, like, I'm going to put Mac on notice and that's going to make him play better, and he does play better, then to me, we all look back and we go, Bill did it again. We all doubted him and he did it again.
I think it's a fair point, Peter. We spoke about it on your show this afternoon. Bill Belichick is tied to this quarterback, which makes how he's handled it, I think, all the more interesting, because you're not just really taking a risk. Unless he doesn't believe that, right? Unless he himself doesn't buy it. First-round pick,
and
doesn't, the guy who runs the operation, you're not tied to that guy?
Bill's got a pretty impressive resume in his carear.
Oh, I'm not saying it makes or breaks him, but
people that have had the success that he has had have egos, and he might believe that he's, bulletproof in this regard, that if Mac Jones doesn't work out, that's not on me, that'll be on Mac Jones. I mean, that could be the case. He might think that way.
How do you think?
I think that it will reflect on him in a major way. And I'm with you, Trenni. I think that at some point, now you've got to find out, going back to what Phil has written about and talked about here, he took this gamble, he took this risk. How long do we have to wait to find out if it paid off? I mean, he's playing this weekend. He's off the injury report. He's healthy. It's a division game, which is important, and I think is important not only in the scope of 2022 and math and standings-wise, and also when looking forward on the schedule at the games you'll look at as winnable games for the Patriots. This should be one of them. But I say in the grand scheme of things, where are you in the AFC East? Where are you as a team? How do you stack up against the other three teams? I don't think anyone is thinking that they're going to be the Bills anytime soon, but there are three other teams, including the Patriots, in this division. Where do you stand among those teams? I don't think that's as clear as it once was.
Oh, no question. It's unclear. And if you're ownership, you're Robert Kraft, and you tell us in March that you're unhappy because you haven't won a playoff game in 3 years. You've been to the postseason, but you haven't won one in 3 years, and it has bothered you. And now maybe if you lose to the Jets on Sunday, I think there's a ton at stake in this game. If you lose this game and you are definitively at the more than the midway point through the season, or no, right at the midway point in the season, definitively at the bottom of the standings in your own division, how are you feeling about that? And does that change how you approach the rest of the season, Trenni, or any of your thoughts in terms of how things may have to change after the season? Do you think this is the kind of game that could really eventually lead to some drastic changes?
Ooh, are we talking about a coaching change?
Not necessarily, but I think...
Is that what you're hinting at?
No, I don't think...
No,
but I do think, listen, not the ultimatum, but the point was made very clear. Robert Kraft expected this team to continue to trend upward, right? And if they lose this game and the rest of the season doesn't work out the way he was hoping, I don't know what he does at the end of the year.
I should clarify, when I say coaching change, I don't always necessarily mean Bill Belichick. I do wonder if this team, and let's be honest, guys, it's one thing to lose to the Dolphins, who've kind of been on the rise. Obviously, it's a totally different thing when you lose to the Bills. Everyone expects you to lose to the Bills, but the Jets have been bottom of the barrel in the AFC East for so long. They have just been like, the punching bag of the AFC East. So if you lose to them or you finish below them in the division, that, to me, speaks volumes about where the franchise is. And I do wonder, when you talk about major changes, does Robert Kraft go to Bill Belichick and say, listen, your little experiment here with Matt Patricia and Joe Judge as your two offensive guys, not working anymore. We're going to go back to what has worked before, which is an actual offensive coordinator.
It's a tough spot for the Patriots, I think, this Sunday, because that Jets defense is legit. So if they are able to win it, I'm not sure how pretty it looks. I think it could be a slog. We could be talking about a game that's played in the teens. All right, plenty more to come here on Early Edition, but have to tell you, the Patriots visit the Jets on Sunday. As we've been speaking about, we'll get you ready starting at noon with Pregame Live. It's presented by the Oakers Company, proud sponsor of the New England Patriots.